Hello everyone, my name is NCS07 and I have been wanting to make this review for what seems like forever. Seriously, I had to replay this game a second time just so I can unlock the third semester and experience that, just so I can make the review. Which is why it took so long for this to come out, but patience is a virtue, so I will say that. But I feel more ready than ever to review this game. Now, there are some things I want you to keep in mind. First of all, keep in mind that this video will contain spoilers, so please don't watch if you haven't played it yet. Although I will mention which parts are more spoilery than others, so yeah. I'll give you a warning at the beginning of each category. And speaking of which, this review is actually going to be differently structured than my other reviews. Normally I use the very normal categories like the story, gameplay, content, and stuff like that. But this time I'll actually be discussing the new stuff that has been added to Royal, and stuff that was already added to the base Persona 5. I'm not going to be talking about like specific stuff like gameplay and anything like that, although I will mention the new additions. If you want to know my actual thoughts on like the OG Persona 5 and just Persona 5 in general, I'd recommend you watch the review I made on that game. I'll click the link in the description. I'll probably have an end card at the end of this video as well. So, without further delay, let's get started. First, I may as well talk about the stuff that has been added onto the base original game. Now, before we get into that, just know that if you haven't played the entirety of the original Persona 5 yet, then you may want to do that before you see this, if you don't want spoilers. But hey, if you don't care about spoilers, then okay. Well, I may as well get through this. But first, they have made a great amount of improvements to how this game looks, as it feels much better than before, with more attention to detail than ever. Even if just slightly better than before, it's still an improvement. It's still better than before. I mean, I'll say this, the game is Persona 5 after all, so of course it's amazing, but wow, they really knew how to nail even the slightest details. But we'll get into that in a little bit. One thing that I may as well mention that you can probably see on screen right now are the different poses and character portraits. As I just said, all party member portraits have been changed. Some of them are just slightly different, and some of them actually use different poses more akin to that of Persona 3. And to be honest, when I first saw like some of these poses, I honestly thought they looked a bit uncanny, if that makes any sense. Especially the one of Ryuji smiling. Like, seriously, is it just me or does that look weird? I don't know. Thankfully, I was able to adapt to how the game looks, and can honestly appreciate how they put more work into making the game look different. Although I am a bit unsure if Atlas did this because they wanted poses from the beginning, or if they actually wanted it to look different, but I mean, I don't know. But given they don't use these same poses and portraits in Scramble, I just say that make the game look different. But hey, I guess it's something different from the original. But that's not enough on aesthetics. How about more of the new actual additions that have been made? Well, I may as well mention the stuff that's changed in the normal reality first. Well, in terms of story, not much has changed, of course, except for the new character, Kasumi, but we'll get to her later. There are a few more events in the game, like that one scene of Joker, Ryuji, and Yusuke at like a hot dog fest or something. I don't know. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head that don't involve the new character. But yeah, I don't know. But not much has really changed. But what about the actual gameplay in the real world? Well, one thing that actually has changed that a lot of people will probably like is how Morgana doesn't constantly tell you to go to sleep anymore. Yeah, now at nighttime, instead of being forced to lay and go unconscious, now you can do much more. Even after going through the Metaverse, you can still do a lot of things around LeBlanc, such as study your notes, or watch a DVD, or play a game. It is small, and Morgana does still force you sometimes to go to sleep, but the fact that they limited it, not really limited, but the fact that they kind of like reduced how much Morgana tells you to go to sleep, that makes it a lot easier to raise your social stats. Even if you can't just hang out with confidants sometimes, just being able to raise your social stats is really nice. which you're definitely going to need when progressing through confidants. And speaking of which, some of the confidants have actually changed. One of them being Caroline Justine, as in the original game you would have to, basically it was a persona fetch quest where you'd have to get a various persona that they want. Normally you'd have to fuse multiple others just to make it and all that jazz. But here they have a brand new list and you have new personas that you can obtain. And this isn't necessarily related to their confidant per se, but one thing you can do with them is you can actually take them to places besides the Velvet Room, such as places like Big Bang Burger and the gym as two examples. They're not being held in that room anymore. Like, that's the one thing I will say about their confidant that I don't really like. They're all in the same place, so actually taking them to Disney World, that's just amazing. Even and they do give you like an item and stuff like that, but it's really funny to watch these two talk about how human life is and trying to learn about it. It's honestly hilarious. Another confidant that was changed is Akechi's, which originally was an automatic confidant that would progress throughout the story, but now you actually have to make the decision yourself if you want to choose to hang out with him. It isn't very normal. It isn't, well, it doesn't usually happen very often, but usually when Akechi contacts you at nighttime, I'm always ready, because I will be honest, it feels much better than before. Because I think part of it does have to do with the fact that it isn't automatic anymore, because I will be honest, automatic confidants are kind of meh, if I'm going to be entirely honest. But like here, it feels much better because I can remember a lot more from this confidant. Especially, how about that one part where Akechi just wears Joker's glasses as a distraction? Seriously, every time I think about that confidant, I always think of that portrait of Akechi with Joker's glasses. Like, something about that is just hilarious because I didn't expect it at all. What were you talking about again? Oh yeah, gameplay. There is a brand new place to explore as well called Kichijoji. Excuse my butchering of the name. Which has some places in it such as a temple to relax your mind, a jazz club, and most importantly, Kichijoji 1990X, which offers both billiards and a brand new minigame, darts. And I gotta be honest, that darts minigame, if this is how darts is played in real life, well, it taught me how to play darts in real life because it is fun as heck. Seriously, this alone makes this new place a lot of fun to be at. And it also increases, like, your baton pass rank, which, hey, there's another thing. Baton pass rank. Every time you play darts, or on specific difficulties, you can actually raise a baton pass rank, which basically means that if you baton pass to, like, say, Ryuji, well, Ryuji's is at, like, a rank 3, he'll actually recover some health and SP, which is really nice. I mean, again, it's one of these small changes, but it's so nice. And that's pretty much most of the new stuff in the real world, except for two things. To the confidants. The first being Kasumi's confidant, which, while it is only like 5 ranks long, it is pretty interesting, actually showing her kind of struggling as she wants to try and be as great as she wants to be, and eventually achieves it by hitting a ball at the batting cages. I will be honest, that scene, as well as like the Akechi wearing glasses thing, are probably some of the funniest things ever, to be honest. I'm getting a little bit off topic. The other one is Maruki, who is actually 10 ranks long, and is basically the counselor hired by Shujin for students to get some counseling after all of what Kamoshida has done. And I mean, you can't really blame him. In Maruki's confidant, he basically goes on about how he wants to make this paper about healing hearts and making them happy. I wonder. Both of the new confidants feel very interesting, which is really welcome. And I don't know, it's not much, but it still feels really good. And they don't really contact you that often either, but yeah, I will say that. Also, just a little bit of a heads up, if you want to get to the 3rd semester, you have to max out Maruki's confidant before November 18th. And I believe you have to max out Kasumi and Akechi's confidants as well. Probably want to know that because I maxed out Hechi and Kasumi's confidants, but I did not max out Maruki's confidant, and that's why I had to play the game a second time. So I'm just gonna throw that out there as a little heads up, but yeah, want to get that out there. But how about we change from the real world into the metaverse? And well, there's a lot more to talk about, so let's try and get through this a bit quickly. Not really. Well, first of all, I may as well mention the palaces themselves, as some of the puzzles and layouts of the palaces have changed a bit, making the palaces feel more like a breeze, as well as some of the bosses being changed as well. One example being Kamoshida having a cognitive version of Mishima, and Shiho, which ate him in battle, which really does make the boss feel a lot more interesting. So, and there's also Madarame making clones of himself to make more enemies, and kind of describing how he copies art and stuff like that. And I like it. It kind of gives the bosses a little bit more to them, although except for the Okumura boss fight. Do I really need to talk about that one? I'm not going to. No. Anyways, the Mementos. Mementos has gone through a lot of differences as well, specifically having music in different areas. And I've heard some people say that it's not that great and it kind of loses the tediousness of the original song, but honestly, I think it's great. It honestly makes Mementos feel a little better. At least it has more music. I think, Jesus. I don't know why, especially when everybody was complaining about Mementos only having one theme throughout all the areas. I don't know why. As well as, and there's more to Mementos than just auditory stuff. There's also Jose, who can help you raise your experience and money and other perks that are earned in battles through stamps that you find, which, hey, there's another thing, stamps. You get stamps every time you not only clear a floor, but also if you investigate around a little bit. Find some cracks in the wall, there might be a stamp behind there. That's one more point of whatever goal you want. And may as well also mention the battle system. Now, for the most part, it is pretty similar to the original game, although there are some new changes. First thing is that the baton pass is actually automatically unlocked now whenever a party member awakens to their persona. In the original game, it was a confidant ability, but now you can get it immediately. And I mean, yes, we're gonna do their all party member confidants, but I'll be honest, just having it available from the start is so nice. It makes things a lot easier. Mainly because I would always do a palace on the first day I could, and it just feels a lot better actually being able to baton pass with everybody. I don't know, I really like that. So, really nice. There's also a new type of attack you can do, a Showtime Attack. Essentially, two party members engage in this cutscene of some kind to completely annihilate one of the enemies, which can make tough battles a little easier to get through. Although I'm not entirely sure on how you get it to happen, it seems to be weird. It seems to happen more of at a random point. I've noticed it happens specifically with a party member is low on health or gets taken out, or near the very end of a battle when they just want to finish it, but I'm not really entirely sure. There's also another thing that Atlas did, which is a great deed, giving us all of the DLC from the original game for free in Royal, which is so nice. Although you do have to download it, and it's not included with the game itself, you do have to download it, it's still free, and it gives you so many costumes that it's amazing for customization. Oh, and might I add that it actually does change the battle music and victory screen music. I really like that. I seriously love it. Just listening to Persona 4 music while playing the game honestly just feels really cool for some reason. I don't know why, but really nice. And that pretty much wraps up most of the changes within the main story itself. However, there is one other mode that I haven't talked about, the Thieves' Den. This mode is basically it's basically a place where you can run around and you can basically just decorate however you want. Essentially, you have this big room, well, den, I guess. you can essentially do a lot of things, such as listening to music, watching the cutscenes throughout the game, and even like some of the earlier trailers for the game. And there's also some other stuff you can do, like placing various items that you obtain throughout the main game on various pedestals and stuff like that, or even just locations. There's also a brand new card game called Tycoon, which is really fun. Although I do wish you could honestly play this card game online with other actual people or other people in the same room as you instead of just the Phantom Thieves. I mean, listen, I love listening to the Phantom Thieves talking about how they would play cards and not just talking about the Phantom Thieves, looking at you, Ryuji, but it would have been nice to at the very least be able to play with the same people in the same room as you. But, or I even noticed online, but it's even so, that card game is still a lot of fun, and it even gives you tokens that you can use to purchase some of the other stuff. And this whole mode is honestly just great because it gives players more of a reason to return to the game after completing it. Because I'll be honest, whenever I complete a Persona game, I just get burnout. If I just can't, like seriously, I waited like 3 or 4 months after I beat the original Persona 5 before I even touched it again, just because it took so much of my time that I just need a break so it could feel a little fresh. So having a mode like this is so nice. And that's pretty much it for most of the additions that have been made to the base Persona 5. And while personally I don't think it makes the game completely unique, as some may say, it does make the game feel a lot more refined and better. But finally, after so long, let's move from the base game of Persona 5 into the third semester. Now it's time to move on to the third semester and the ending, so if you do not want the spoilers, then please at this time just go to this timestamp on the screen right now just so you can get to the final parts of the video, final thoughts part of the video. Unless you don't care. Seriously, I really wouldn't want you guys to get spoiled, so just go to the timestamp that's on the screen right now. That should take you to the ending of like well, not ending, but the end part of the video, so that should be good. Okay, good. Anyways, so the start of the third semester, I may as well add some context to what this is. So, start of the third semester begins with a catchy because normally in the normal game, you actually get thrown in jail, and like on Christmas, and I never liked that. I thought it was a really crappy thing to do. After defeating a god, you just go straight to jail. I do not like that. Thankfully here, Akechi actually takes Joker's place instead, which definitely serves him right. I mean, Akechi did all the stuff like the mental shutdowns and all that stuff. So yeah, that's what he deserves after that. So I'm glad they at least did that. Even if in the end you still ended up in jail, at least you weren't in there for the New Year's and Christmas. Like seriously, that's just depressing. But anyways, it gets a lot more interesting once you actually get to the part where you're transitioned into the new year, where you have this weird dream where you're in the school, but you're in the same attire you wear when you're in the Velvet Room, and you just try to get out of the school, like this weird version of the school, while you hear the voices of your bonds. And I wish there was more of this. Seriously, this is probably one of the coolest things ever. It comes out of nowhere, and it honestly feels kind of creepy, to be honest. It honestly feels really creepy. I love it so much. I wish they did more of this. You eventually do learn that Maruki, the counselor guy, apparently altered reality so that way everyone gets what they want. So that's what the Healing Hearts thing was all about then. Huh. And that leads into a lot more plot about Kasumi, who is eventually revealed to actually be Sumire. Well, the actual Kasumi is, it is handled pretty well, and it is definitely shown throughout this that Maruki doesn't actually have any evil or malevolent intent. He just wants the best for everyone, which just makes this encounter feel much more different. Before it was always evil guy threatening us, let's steal his heart. But this time, it honestly feels much harder to disapprove of Maruki's beliefs. But enough of the story for now. What about the actual gameplay? Well, I mean, the actual gameplay isn't too different, but there are some differences. Well, I guess in the real world, it's pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that everybody is happy. Although you can progress Sumeri's confidant further, all the way to 10, as you watch her actually try to deal with her sister's passing, as well as be as great as she wants to be. And honestly speaking, I think it pays off very well. She eventually is able to do the gymnastics thing very well, and it's really good. It's really cool. And I honestly do feel like it kind of makes Kasumi feel much more relatable, especially to anybody who just feels like they're in the shadow of somebody else. And aside from that, that's pretty much all that's different in the real world. But the Metaverse changes quite a bit first of all, there's a new section of Mementos that's created, offering a kick-butt remix of the original theme. Seriously, that original theme was so boring. The fact that they at least made a remix actually sounds a lot better. Thank you. And of course, the new palace being Maruki's palace, which I will say this, it isn't my favorite palace, but it has a lot of great elements, such as the part where you choose which answer is correct in the maze near the end. Those are pretty cool, but it isn't necessarily my favorite. I think Sai's palace is probably my favorite in terms of everything, but although Maruki's is still pretty good. However, one thing that Maruki's palace has over all the other palaces are the tapes that you watch that show some of Maruki's old memories. This is something that I seriously think is so good, because in somebody's heart, it's probably affected by their past, and being able to see the stuff that led to Maruki becoming the way he is, it's honestly really interesting. It really makes him feel even less like a villain, but more of just, I don't know. And I honestly wish that the other palace owners had this feature. Some were planned to actually, but never happened or were never finished for the actual game, which is honestly kind of sad. But aside from that, the only real difference with the gameplay is that now not only is Akechi back, now in his black mask outfit, but as well as Sumire finally being playable. And I gotta be honest, I love Akechi the most. Like, Sumire's cool cat and all that stuff, even though she isn't a cat. But Akechi is so crazy and ruthless and dramatic to demolish anything that opposes him. That's honestly hilarious. Especially like when he does those Navi lines and is just like, "Joker, if you die, I'll kill you again myself." That's just hilarious. That's funny. And all of these additions have been amazing so far. So let's get to the ending itself. First of all, I gotta mention the music. The music during the infiltration and final boss, like Take Off Your Mask, I believe that's its name, and absolute bangers of tracks. So good. And as well, the final boss honestly being pretty good too, definitely showing how Maruki is so resistant to change, but eventually does learn the error of his ways. And yes, Joker does get locked up in jail once Maruki's reality changes to the actual reality. And like I know I said before that I don't like Joker being locked up, but here it feels a lot more fun because at least he isn't in there for that long, and he isn't in there on the new year. Like, that's just depressing. Like, having that stuff ruined for no real reason, that's just sad, especially when you save the world. That's what you get. But it feels a lot better here. And it doesn't even feel like it was there just so the in-game calendar could just get to the last day of the game. And as for the true ending itself, I feel kind of torn on it. On the one hand, I think that the buys from the Phantom Thieves felt kind of rushed, to be honest. It felt kind of weird as they were on this weird chase. I don't really know what that was all about. As well as Sumire barely even saying anything to the protagonist. Seriously, she says like one thing and that's it. She just goes. Seriously, she had so much importance to the story that you would have thought that she would have at least thanked the Chad for everything he did, but no. However, we do get to see Maruki's change of heart, which is really good, as well as I believe this is only seeing the true ending, but seeing a figure pass your window on the subway. that looks very similar to someone else that we know of. And give my theory on this, I think that it actually is Akechi. Like, seriously, no, like, seriously, I don't think it's somebody else. He wears gloves. Seriously, why would someone else mimic him that much? I do believe that Akechi is alive, but I think he's in hiding because even in the original Persona 5, Akechi's fate was pretty unknown, and I think that Atlus did this to reinforce the idea that Akechi is alive, but possibly went into hiding after everything that happened and just maybe wants to forget about everything that happened. To be honest, I think the ending was good, but it could have been a lot more effective. Especially since the original game's ending was pretty good too. But seriously, in all honesty, the third semester in general is honestly great, as it feels different from the base game, in a good way of course. But with all that out of the way, let's get to the conclusion. Seriously, this game is so good. I mean, it's Persona 5, so that alone makes this game the best thing ever, but I can just tell that Atlus put a lot of effort into making this game feel much better and greater than it was before. Although, it is a bit difficult for me to recommend this game because even though this is an improvement from the original game, the original was still great in many ways and is only $20, 1/3 of the $60 I paid for Royal. So I'll say this, if this is your first time playing a Persona game, I'd recommend getting Royal, to be honest. But if you play the original and didn't enjoy it that much, or don't need a second serving of the same thing, then I would not recommend it. But seriously, I thought this game would feel a lot way too similar to the original before it came out, but thankfully after playing through the whole game, it honestly feels more like an actual upgrade. Although I will say this, because I can't really say this anywhere else, why is it so hard to get the disc out of the Steelbook version of the game? Seriously, you push on the button and the game won't pop out. You have to try and pull as lightly as possible to get it out without breaking or scratching the disc at all. I understand being fancy is one thing, but seriously, Atlus? Okay, I got a bit off topic there. That's seriously just a small little nitpick I have. And that's just the Steelbook version of the game. But seriously, on my scale of 0 to 10, I give Persona 5 Royal a 9.6 out of 10. 1/10 higher than the original game's score that I gave. So that will conclude this review. Did you guys agree with this video or not? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're brand new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button to see more Persona content. And I just want to say this right now, thank you guys for getting me to 4,000 subscribers. I know that 4,000 subscribers doesn't really feel like anything special, like at all. Like it's not that big in the grand scheme of things compared to other YouTubers, but to me, 4,000 subscribers is honestly amazing. I just really hope that we can reach 5,000 by the end of this year, because that's my goal. So if you are brand new, please hit the subscribe button, as cliche as that sounds, but thank you. Thanks to all of you guys for getting me to 4,000 subs. And I'd also like to know if you guys like the vanilla Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal more, because honestly at this point, Royal is more fun for me. But both are fun, so there's also that. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next time. Peace.
It's showtime! Did you enjoy the show? Well, time for the highlight.